Yes, a lot better now.
Yes. Now we
Yes.
can hear.
No, someone admitted and started this weird noise. So no, unmute.
Maybe it's better to put mute everybody.
Yeah, I want you. I want. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Why can I hear myself twice? It's a little weird. Questions. You are many people here.
Yeah, Tomer, I had a question.
It's horrible. I hear myself twice. I don't know why. Yes. I think. Oh, I actually hear myself. Just a second. Okay, can you hear me? Yes. I hear myself with an echo, and it's really annoying. That's what we have. What kind of programming language you ask? Yes. Is it okay now? Or everybody hears themselves twice?
No, we still hear your echo. It's quiet now. I don't know.
Yes. Only I hear myself twice.
No, we hear you too. We hear you twice.
Both Carmel and Tomer's microphones are on.
No, but she's muted.
No. No,
she's not muted. Okay. Now maybe?
Yeah.
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah, now it's okay. So what yeah, well, what was the question? So now I shared a new screen, right? Can you see it?
Yes.
This is the Wilcox books. If someone wants the book, it's not printed anymore. I think this one was the, I don't know which version, but it doesn't matter. Table and 7 changed so much since then. You can ask me. And the other book is the Understanding Aerodynamics. I have a kind of version of it. So if you contact me on private, maybe we can see how you can get these books. I really, really, really recommend this one. I mean, yes. I really recommend Doug McLean's book. Okay, questions? Just tell me your name. Rajat, how are you? Yeah, fine. Are you asking which kind of computer language you'd rather learn? To tell you the truth, I'm a son of 2 software engineers, and learning a computer language, the easiest computer language to learn is Python. Can you hear me? Okay. The easiest computer language to learn might be Python because it was constructed this way. But in essence, it's a syntax. It's either you know how to write a good algorithm or you don't. It really doesn't matter. C++ is very strong mathematically. If you're going to turn to OpenFOAM, then I don't know, Python also quite good. I used Fluent, so I had to do my UDFs in C. But I don't really have a recommendation about a programming language. I mean, as long as you know how to write an efficient algorithm, okay? Take a course. I mean, it's not a shame to take there's a great course in the Lauren and Barbara course of Python, 12 lessons. I mean, what? Yeah, enough yourself. Yeah. So you can design your own burger equations, and see how it goes. I mean, you're going to have to program. There is no way that you're going to be a CFD practitioner which only pushes a few buttons, and the software will never do everything that you want. You will always have to code. I mean, you'll always have to use some kind of user-defined stuff. More questions?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom. Oh, you can go first.
Yeah, two quick ones. One was on the online courses, and I think you've mentioned a few on your CFD.
First of all, tell me who you are.
Yeah, this is Andre Collado.
Okay.
So I had a couple of quick ones. First one was related on online courses, and I think you've mentioned a few, but if there's any that you wanted to highlight on online courses for CFD that are available. And the second one, more open-ended, is for those who are practicing, in the industry. Do you have any recommendations on how to sell it, or to sell the story of CFD, and how we can better communicate, the expertise and the reasoning of why to do it to clients? Thank you.
Yes. Essentially, what you are talking about, maybe I'll approach the second question. You cannot sell CFD. I mean, CFD it's a tool. I mean, when I used to work at Tenzo, I still have it. I can show you my resume. You can show you my resume. I write in my resume that I've raised the pipeline by 300% of projects. And I sold the projects by, it's about giving the customer the security that you're the expert. And an expert has knowledge in fluid dynamics. I mean, besides the computational, there is fluid dynamics. And it's a shame that when I led this course last year in some place in Israel for once a week CFD course for undergraduates, and people don't know the difference between dynamic pressure and static pressure and total pressure, or how to, I mean, if you don't know the phenomenology good enough, you can't sell anything. And if you do know the phenomenology very good, then you almost could sell everything. But the other thing is the strategic view. You need to give an added value to the customer. Okay? So one of the things sometimes you do, if you want to achieve to get a new customer, is you do a demo. You tell him, here, I solve you this little problem here. He'll give you a problem. If it's big, then you'll say, well, you'll have to pay for it. But if it's something that she can optimize for him and show him that he can get value, because that's what you want to get from the CFD. What was the first question again?
Yeah, the first one was on CFD online courses, and I know you've already mentioned a few. Maybe I'm repeating myself.
You ask about the CFD online courses from all about CFD.
Right. I think you have maybe a few recommended in the bare minimum. If there's any that you would highly recommend or highlight out of the ones listed there.
On my blog?
Yes.
You should contact about the courses. You should contact me on on person.
Okay.
We actually update it all the time. We made lately a few courses. Some of them are mixed. Some of them. So just approach and what do I recommend? I recommend the turbulence course, of course. Rajat, what do you recommend? Okay. More questions?
Yes. Hello, Tomer. This is Gail Ananas. I wanted to ask about the meshing process. Can you point out some resources and guidelines for good practice for the meshing process?
Yes. The meshing process is there are many mesh generators. The thing is, and let me tell you some inside stuff, is that Fluent was kind of the leading software, and I believed strongly in the ANSYS mechanical mesher for CFD for a long time. They bought a company named Tigrid, but they didn't do anything with the mesher. It was called Fluent Meshing, and it went for a long time, used only by super professionals who knew how to operate it. You'd actually need to have an expert teaching you for a few months how to use the software, the Fluent Meshing. Now, there are other companies like Pointwise, which is obviously an amazing company, and Star CCM and its mesher. But Fluent did give a push the past few years, the past 3 years, and they worked out the workflow and another few other approaches that makes the meshing more automatically. But essentially, meshing is knowing the turbulent boundary layer. I mean, knowing how the phenomenology behaves, doing your mesh convergence procedure, either by reducing the mesh and see if you get a large error, or the other way around. Maybe you should enlarge the mesh and see if you lose the phenomenology, depending on if you're doing large eddy simulation or runs. But essentially, it's knowing first. When I approach a problem, I kind of know what I'm supposed to get. Okay, so I kind of know where high pressure is going to be, where a separation is going to happen. So meshing is about it's about walls, mostly about walls. The mesh should be smooth. the mesh should be if it's swirling flow, then you can't really have it in line with you'll have truncation error in every calculation. But if the flow is kind of smooth in the free flow area, in the free shear area, then you should use hex mesh or polyhedra mesh, which could be really aligned very good with the flow. But the boundary layer is the most essential thing. You should have at least 15 layers inside the boundary layer. You should decide if your problem needs to resolve the viscous sublayer or not. Okay? You should remember that if you solve a thermal problem, then the thermal boundary layer is not the momentum boundary layer. And you need to take that in mind too. You need to have the right resolution in the log layer. If there is if it's a problem with a low Reynolds problem, then yes, the log layer might start at y plus equals 30, but it might end at y plus equals 400. And you still might have the resolution to capture the boundary layer. There is the method to do that is, hopefully known to everybody, is never checking the velocity profile. The velocity profile is a little bit, it could confuse you. Check the eddy viscosity ratio. And the eddy viscosity ratio should be a maximum at the midst of the boundary layer. Okay, so then it should be everywhere. So so you need to check that it's everywhere the same. Did I answer your question, or because can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, those are good guidelines. Is there like a written?
If I'm going to break it to a step-by-step approach, then first you estimate the y plus. You estimate the y plus through the, I don't know, take the pointwise y plus, okay? Mm-hmm. You have a few parameters you need to enter there: the dynamic viscosity, the velocity, the density, and the length scale. The length scale doesn't matter too much because it goes in the formula on the fourth root, so in the power of 1/4. So it really doesn't matter if you write 1 or 10 there. If you don't know the length scale, you can play with it and you'll see it doesn't matter too much. And then you decide I want to get a viscous sublayer. I want y plus equals 1. I'm going to use a model which is wall insensitive, like the K omega SST. Because I want to predict separation very good, and it's not such an aggressive separation, so the K omega SST is good for that. So I want to capture the y plus 1. I put y plus 1. I decide upon a method that I want to build the boundary layer. You can build it by the first layer and then growth rate, but there can be other ways you can build the boundary layer. You can decide that you want it to be smooth with the first cell beyond the prism layers, okay? So that's like called the smooth transition. You could have a smooth transition with the mesh afterwards, because you don't want to sometimes, to have a and you need to check that everywhere on the mesh, except where you can't handle it, like in separation areas, you capture the boundary layer the way you want. So you simulate, you get to if it's fluent, the Y star or the Y plus. Okay, you take if it's a 3D simulation, then you plot the surface Y plus. You see that it's one everywhere or under one, and you're fine. If not, you factor, or you might add a few more layers. Usually in the aerospace industries, they use 4D layers for because they need the really good resolution for the low margin they have for drag calculations. So you can add layers. If you add layers, then you'll get the Y plus, lower. Perhaps the physical Y, lower, and you'll have Y plus equals 1. If it's a 2D problem, you can plot an XY plot. Essentially, that's what you should do. But you should approach a simulation. You should arrive at a stage. If you're a beginner, then the day you arrive to a stage where you go to a simulation and you feel what the phenomenology is supposed to look like, then you're a CFD practitioner. If you're like, I know what the problem I want to solve, but I don't know anything about how it's going to behave, then I was for 7 years the team leader of the thermal analysis team in a company in Israel, in a defense company. I would tell my employees, if you don't know which fan to choose before even just looking at the problem, then don't choose the fan. Turn to someone else. Understanding the phenomenology is very important. You're going to have places that you can't model with two equation models, with runs, maybe the turbulent. I know some of you have done the sports and building aerodynamics course. You see there are many very unstable flows. With high turbulent content and a mess. So you need to take that into account too. Entrance flows, of course. Any other questions?
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
I'm Yahya. I've talked to you before in one of your last seminars. I'm a grad student, and I'm doing my research in aeroacoustics, but a lot of it is CFD because I need to have high fidelity CFD results to be able to estimate the noise for trailing edges. So I was just wondering so I've taken graduate advanced fluid dynamics courses, so I'm familiar with the fundamentals. So when I was shifting to aeroacoustics, I was just learning things as I go. But if you have anything that you think is crucial for me to excel at that part of aeroacoustics that I need to look at, that's one question. I have a couple more, but I can ask you after you answer that.
So I'll answer that first. With aeroacoustics, we have a few ways we approach the problem. One of it is analogies, like the light hill analogies. If you approach me afterwards.
That's what I'm using.
Yeah, you, of course you're using analogies, because otherwise you'll have to use your large eddy simulations, and then you have problems with, because first you want the aeroacoustics to exist, so you don't want a too dissipative discretization. On the other hand, you don't want reflections from the boundaries. Okay, that's very bad. So there are many procedures to do that. But if you solve by analogies, I mean, I don't know what the level of resolution that you want to get for the thesis, or if you solve with analogies, then it should be very simple.
Okay, thank you.
Are you using
So,
Fluent?
I'm using Fluent, yes.
Yeah. So you can talk to me later. I can give you. I'll help you. Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Contact me privately on LinkedIn, and I'll give you a complete procedure to how to solve in a few ways the problem of aeroacoustics. If you want to understand the phenomenology, Sagut book is open on. You can download it on the internet. So.
What's
Okay.
the book called?
Yeah, Sagut. It's called Aeroacoustics. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
sorry.
yeah.
I was interrupt you. We're done or not.
I just said that contact me privately on LinkedIn because I won't remember you. I don't know who you are even right now.
Okay.
What's the name?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So contact me and I'll get we'll solve the aeroacoustics Fluent problem easily.
Perfect. So the second thing is I wanted to take your intake on ICEM because I wanted to do a structured mesh for a 3D airfoil, and I started using ICEM. I actually like it a lot, but it's very time consuming. So I want to know if it's worth the commitment in the future. Like, is it worth me spending all the time learning it, or is there other ways that I should approach the structured meshing problem?
No, you can. It's not really a structured mesh. I mean, it's a body fitted mesh, but it's not really a structured mesh. A structured mesh is something else. It's when you take the problem, which has some geometry, and you transfer it to some geometry which is Cartesian. So ISOM is not really structured. It's a body fitted hex mesh, so it could be in line with the flow. It's not like cut cell where the flow is Cartesian. If you learn how to use ISOM, like be skilled at ISOM, you can control it very fast. I mean, I know people who use it very fast. They cut, they do many cuts, they do that, they do this, and then they finish really fast. I mean, it could be amazing. But if the geometry is a little bit sophisticated, then ISOM is it's not an option.
Yes, that makes sense. For my case right now, it's just an airfoil, so I think I'll continue using it.
Yeah,
and,
for an airfoil, it's even easy to do because ISOM has this it's really fitted for that. So yeah, use ISOM certainly.
Perfect. And my last question is something that came up. I just remembered it when somebody else was talking about the turbulent viscosity ratio. When we define the inlet or outlet boundary condition, we define the turbulent intensity, which is okay. Yeah. We also have to estimate the turbulence viscosity ratio, and it's always 10 by default. I looked a lot. I searched and looked through a lot of best practice guides, and nobody really tells you how important that guess is. They just say leave it to default for now.
It's not important.
It's not?
No, because the flow adjusts while entering from the inlet, and usually it doesn't really matter unless you're solving a problem which is like the intensity is important. Okay, the intensity is certainly important. I mean, if you have high intensity and you solve a problem of building aerodynamics or something like that, then the intensity is very important. But the length scale is not so important. It will adjust itself along the way inside the domain. So just leave the default.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you have some weird application that I don't know about, and then do the thing that you're supposed to do. You have a mentor, you have someone who leads you. You need to go to your mentor, and that's a thing that is connected to this webinar. Each of you has a mentor. Okay, it's the professor, if it's the lecturer, I don't know, your boss. You should go ready to your. Always be ready when you go to your mentor. Never go with, I don't know what to ask. Make yourself ready. Don't waste his time. And then if your application demands a value which is, because if you solve the two equation model, then you actually model all the turbulence, and it doesn't really matter. You don't have any turbulent content there. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Put 3%. I don't know. No, you don't have. If it's again, usually it adjusts because the turbulent intensity depends upon the obstructions to the flow, and it adjusts. So usually what you'd prefer to do is do a really large domain, so the inlet where you put a superficial profile is not affecting you're not calculating outside the numerical domain. So you don't want it to affect the where the when the important phenomena you're investigating is. So either enlarge your domain, or again, it depends on the application. Some applications have large, very large turbulent intensity, like an airplane doesn't. I mean, usually transition on an airfoil, or not an airfoil, on wing is by Thurmian-Schlichting waves, which means that there's a really low turbulent intensity. And the transition is can be measured by modal growth. So it is important to know that you don't have a large 5% turbulent intensity. If you have a turbo machinery problem, then usually you'll have large turbulent intensity. So, I mean, it's application dependable, but sometimes you even prefer to do something else, and it's doing one simulation while you don't know the turbulent intensity, and then recycle the profile. You can put the profile of K epsilon or K omega on the inlet, right? You know that, right? You have this option in Fluent. Okay, so you can recycle a simulation. That's what sometimes they do when we solve problems like large eddy simulation. Usually we take some kind of, if we have something with a pipe, then we take a pipe without anything, and we solve the problem, and then we recycle the content to not use vortex generators in the inlet, and not use a big enough, too big of a domain. So there are many ways to do that. I mean, if you're not sure, then just get an advice. Yes. Any more questions? Some questions about other master students here. Some questions about large eddy simulations, or questions about, or I don't know, someone doing DNS. What's important to do?
And good evening,
Who is this now?
Carlos.
Okay.
I'm a last year student of aerospace engineering. I would like to know if there is any specific master's degree which can treat this deeply, because as an aerospace student, I know the fundamentals, but I think I don't know it deeply so that I could apply it to CFD applications. I don't know whether it can help me or not.
You're asking, if I repeat the question, you're asking if it's worth...
If is there any suitable master's degree to go deep down into CFD?
Of course, I did my master's degree with CFD. I investigated a transition mechanism called bypass transition. I can even show you. I mean, I got so deep inside of. I had a theoretical mentor, which was in charge of the part of the. Open it and then can you share? Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you won't understand what's written here, except if you're from Israel. But I did like this. This has like 55 pages of everything you need to know about transition. I mean, so you can study a lot of phenomenology, really a lot of phenomenology, including concepts which I used to go to my theoretical advisor and tell him something that I'm sure of, and explain him for a few hours why I'm sure I'm correct. And after a few hours, he would say, well, maybe you're right. And then after a day, I would come back and say, no, I guess I found out I was wrong. But you see, you can do a lot of theoretical. CFD is just a tool. So I use the DNS to do the calculation. So mainly I did a DNS checking for hairpin vortices in pipe flow and coed flow. Mm-hmm. But for that I needed to study a lot of a topic which is like the most obscure topic in fluid dynamics, which is transition. One of the most, I mean, there are topics which are far-fetched, like I don't know, real high Mach flows and boundary shockwave boundary layer interactions and stuff like that. But transition is something supposed to be very, it happens all the time. And we don't know much about it. So yes, you can do that. And I advise everybody who can complete a further degree, who has the ability to do that. If you can complete a PhD, do that. Because you'll earn more money and you'll get more respect. Unless you're crazy, or that's research. I mean, that's plain research. You can read Brian Kaplan's book about it. You can write the name, Brian Kaplan.
Okay.
So there are places you can even actually even ANSYS gives. Yes, actually even ANSYS has a yeah, someone is talking with me. Anyone wants to say something? Yes. Okay, so yeah, you can utilize. I mean, that's what I don't think you can finish a BSc and undergraduate studies and really learn fluid dynamics. I don't think you learn fluid dynamics in just by undergraduate studies, because you don't learn about the boundary layer, you don't learn about the turbulent boundary layer, you don't learn too much about CFD.
Yeah, so, I understand. So is there any specific master, maybe online or partial or part-time, so that even if I'm working or setting up my works, I can even do it?
Yes, that's a problem. I mean, that's a big problem even in the US. The thing about the money you spend while you're doing. I mean, the money that you don't earn while doing a master's. I really have no true answer for that. There is, like ANSYS has with the Madrid University special thesis in simulations, but then it costs a lot of money. So I don't know how. I'm not. If you have the means to do a master's degree, and you could probably get a scholarship somewhere, or try to get a scholarship, or work a few years and then go back to do your master's degree. But you don't have to. I mean, you can research on your own. Many do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Someone who thinks he has.
Hi, Thomas.
Hey.
Thomas Fitzgibbon here from Glasgow University.
Yeah.
I'm nearly at the end of my PhD. However, I still feel that in terms of writing efficient code, I am sometimes lacking. So I wanted to ask you if you have any resources in terms of writing efficient algorithms.
I mean, you mean your problem is with coding.
Yeah.
The thing is that Yes, I do, and I can help you. I will help you. I mean, certainly, I can help you. The thing is that most vendors, they like Fluent or like Ansys or Siemens, or they don't support coding. I mean, I did a pulsating heart UDF once. Okay, where the heart, compresses and I posted it on LinkedIn as a weekly tip. It was kind of a sophisticated algorithm. I mean, stable. Each circle communicates with the cells near him, and they were really mad about it because they don't support it.
I see.
Because then everybody can, if they support it, and if you don't know how to code, then you'll say, well, your software doesn't work. So about
Well,
coding, yes, I'll help you on privately to get you resources to
well,
improve your.
yeah, my point is that, for example, I have a research assistant sitting next to me, and I know if he were to solve the exact same problem, he would write code that requires less memory and solves it 2 times faster, say. So that's my main problem.
Mm, mm, mm.
So how do you get experience in that?
Uh, that's mainly it's mainly a software issue. I mean, knowing how to code. That's what my parents did. Knowing how to code efficiently. That's the thing about coding. I mean, anyone can write an algorithm. The complexity of the algorithm, especially in CFD, where resources can go to reach a bound where you cannot even simulate. The complexity is a very important issue. Um, I'll think about a few resources that I can manage to send you exactly about how to methodologies to reduce complexity or understand better how to write more efficient algorithms.
Okay,
But,
that's great.
there's no if there were, then there was no need for software engineers.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? So the last thing I want to do before we finish is to give you some advices about okay. Let me share. Okay. A little bit about we've changed the stretched the blog a little bit, changed it quite a lot. You should navigate yourself through the index. The index allows you to get to any post that you want. There are many slideshows almost in every issue. Some of them lead to other fields. You can watch this. That's a great course for those of you who are interested in combustions. Professor Heinz Pitch is a world-renowned professor, and he made an excellent guest lecture at the US, which is remarkable. I really advise you to take a look at that. And you have a bunch of resources here. A field that is going to get very strong is that developed by Professor George Karniadakis, which is the PINs, the physics-informed neural networks. They now, what they did is this one is they proved mathematically that they converge on an L2 matter, which for those of you who knows a little bit about weak solutions for Navier-Stokes equations, they have L2 convergence. And this means that maybe someday we're going to solve equations which are not really the Navier-Stokes equations, yet gives the correct simulation. And it's an amazing new machine learning approach to new machine learning approach to CFD. Those of you who are interested, get acquainted with it. Those of you who would like to learn about transition, just really follow the KTH crew, Dan Hanningsen, Philip Schlaffer. You have here his thesis, his dissertation, which was an amazing dissertation. That's the large eddy simulation for acoustics. You can simply download it and read it. It's very good. All the stuff by Mentor, all of the models of Fluent are fully explained, including the ones who are related to detached eddy simulation. I mean hybrid simulations, which I don't think is going to be except wall modeled less large eddy simulation. I don't think that many of them are going to have much success. Now, I'm not a believer in I'm not a supporter of other methods like LBM and I mean, we're solving emergent theories of macrostates like Navier-Stokes equations. I mean, there's no pressure on an atom or temperature of an atom. And I think that the theory, the background behind the theories of Navier and Stokes were really researched for long years, for a long time, and validated. And now you have methods which kind of, it's also the use of GPUs. The ANSYS Discovery Live, which gives you nice, beautiful pictures of turbulent content, but no justification whatsoever to check whether these simulations are good or not. You need to check higher order spectra and not just I don't know first moments or the lift and drag. I'm not a believer about that, so I'm not going to. There's a list of recommended books. You still can use them. Pointwise blog. Always follow Pointwise blogs. John Connor, the president, writes it. He's really all over the market. He doesn't have a preferred company. He works with everybody. So So he gives good information about stuff that happens. Joseph Murad, if you know, the Engineering Mind podcast starts to give some interesting people. TCFD was lately on the podcast. Uber Cloud, for those of you who are interested in enlarging the computing resources, it's going to be big. Ansys's blog and Siemens' blog are mostly, Ansys' blog is mostly, I don't know. I don't like this company. Okay, now you have a very good blog, the Leap Australian blog. It's been there for a really long time. It's a great blog. They have many examples there of solved stuff, not only in Fluent, also in FEA, Fluent Dynamics, CFD Review, and if none of you have seen Tobias Holzmann's new site, I highly recommend going to. For those of you who choose to follow OpenFOAM, there's a lot of good material there. He kind of monetized, I mean, probably his site. I don't know him that well, but the site is very, very good. Upcoming webinars, really not so updated. The AIAA one is a good one. I mean, it should. It's always there's always nice stuff going out from there, from the workshop. The mesh generation workshop, it's going to be along with Pointwise, and it's pretty cool. Having positions I won't talk about. Okay, those of you who asked can contact me for these 3 courses you see here, and the Aeroacoustics course, which are self-paced learning videos, and you can add a Q&A. I mean, you can ask anything you want, and I will be there for you. And it's totally free. So that's it. If anyone has other questions, you can just shoot. I think I'm done. Anyone has any question? That's your chance. Someone? Anyone? Okay, so I'd like to thank you for Thank you everybody for your time. It always amazes me when people would like to. I would like to remind everybody here, and everybody who knows me knows that I'm this kind of guy. I always like to help. I mean, you can reach out whenever you want. I'm quite connected, so I can get you a lot of resources that you won't get even from your own university. Whether it's now I have a new contract with the Star CCM distributor in Israel. so I'm going to be more of a Star CCM person. But Fluent was my life, so I'm kind of all over the place now. So I wish all of you the best of luck. Feel free to reach out, and we'll end this webinar.